How to have emotional safety in a relationship. That's all we want. You deserve it, but you got to have skills. Stay with us. We're going to talk about that. Listen, if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, you got to click the button. Click it now, and you will be able to be informed every time we do something helpful. And there's almost 1,800 other helpful things you can watch. So enjoy that. If you got a question, put it in the box. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and I am here today to talk about how to have an emotionally safe relationship. Now, for the past 40 years, I've been counseling couples who've had challenges, let's just say, with being able to be emotionally safe. And emotional safety requires a skill. That's one of the disadvantages. So many people think if they get married or commit to a relationship that it's going to be safe just because they want it to be safe. Well, if that person grew up in a home with no skills, they have no skills to offer you. If they grew up with really, let's say, less than helpful skills, they're going to damage you. And you might really, truly love each other, but not feel safe with each other emotionally. And that's going to limit your emotional, spiritual, and sexual intimacy. And we don't want that. You want to have the best relationship possible. So how do we kind of cut out this area of our life to make sure that we're being emotionally safe? Well, it's going to take more than a commitment. So let me walk you through this, because you're going to have both have the skill. And just because you're a male or a female does not make you better at emotional skills. I've been teaching clients emotional skills for 40 years. I'm going to take a lot of information out of this book right here, Emotional Fitness. Okay, this is a great book, and it helps you pragmatically walk through the skill part. The skill of being able to identify feeling. Because a lot of people are stuck in anger, really angry or other, and they really don't know what they feel, and they're not trying to be insincere. They just haven't taken the time or the discipline or 60 days to be able to identify their feelings. Well, if you can't identify your feelings, it's going to be hard for you to communicate them. So you're going to have these drag out fights, and 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to finally be able to get to what emotion you really have. That's inefficient use of time and energy. And you get a lot of scars, and you say a lot of things you shouldn't say. And you need to be able to communicate with respect for each other, what you're feeling, and not blaming the other person for why you're feeling it. I might feel X feeling. It's not your fault I'm feeling that way. I'm feeling that way. And with the emotional fitness, you can actually learn how to switch your feelings. So if you are feeling a certain way, you can switch out of it instead of feeling like you have to take the whole ride of that emotion. You don't have to do that. Now, respect is really important, because if either of you are in an object relationship with each other, the core value of someone in an object relationship is the other person has no value. There are no consequences and there are no rules. And if that's the case, it's going to be hard to have emotional safety, because as soon as you say something that's in conflict with their beliefs, you're going to be worthless. You're going to have no value. You're going to feel like you're Darth Vader. You're being attacked. You're being gaslit. Well, that person has some work to do to be able to connect to you as a person and value you as a person. Now, a relationship style person, people have value. There are rules. There are consequences. And so at the very core level, if you're in disagreement with those 3 things, you're not going to have emotional safety. It's not possible. Because as soon as that button gets pushed, even if they're relational some of the time or even most of the time, in conflict, they'll go to that object place. You have no value. So that's super, super important. Now, you have to practice emotional connection to have it. I recommend you do 2 feelings a day, even 2 praises a day. So in the Emotional Fitness book, we talk about this. There's a list of feelings, and you can get that. And it's simple. I feel blank when. I first remember feeling blank when. And you begin to go through the list, and you begin to see that you need to be able to communicate these feelings. And you do it in a safe way when you're not upset, and it's a discipline. And if you have the discipline of emotional identification, communication, and you experience each other's safety, now you can do emotional safeness. And the rules in doing the feelings exercise, they cannot be about each other. When you're doing the exercises, you maintain eye contact, and there's no feedback. So we're just sharing a feeling, looking to each other's eyes. I feel calm when. I first remember feeling calm when. Do that for about 60 days, and then just do 2 feelings from your day. Because if you're emotionally fit, you're going to have the ability to be emotionally safe. If you are not emotionally fit, it's going to be impossible to, with any kind of consistency, have emotional safety. You can have it on good days, but on those days when it requires you to really kind of dig in there and show up, you're going to have some challenges. Now, another thing for emotional safety for a relationship is having good boundaries and respecting each other's boundaries and setting boundaries even for yourself. Like, if I yell at you, my consequence is going to be X. I'm going to set it up for myself. It's unacceptable for me to do this. And you can have emotional safety because the other person is seeing you are treating yourself as an adult and you are disciplining yourself to be best and safe in this relationship. Now, the last thing I'm going to share with you is having a clear path for conflict. Now, I want to recommend, I think it's in 10-Minute Marriage book, the 10-Minute Fight. Okay, the 10-minute turnaround. The principles are simple. First, identify what you're really arguing about, but only one thing at a time. You don't get to go multiple topics. You don't get to go back in history or into the future. What are you arguing about? Okay, if you're arguing about the garbage, stay with the garbage. Who takes it out, right? And so then the next thing is you identify the feelings you have connected to this particular topic. She writes her feelings down. He writes her feelings down. Once you write those down, then the next thing, and you're not talking, the next thing you do is you write down the solutions you have for that problem. And you might write 3 or 4 or 5. Okay. Now, because you're both bright, now you start talking. You combine your solutions into one list. And then you go through each one at a time and you vote 1 to 10. 1, I don't like this. 10, I love this idea. But you do it on a piece of paper. And you write down your numbers. And then you go back over them. The highest number wins. That's a great way to resolve a lot of conflict. You need to find your way. And there's other materials out there, you can find it. But this is some of the basic stuff for emotional safety. And now, if you're having challenges in your relationship and it's way beyond that, and you need counseling, call my counseling center at Heart to Heart Counseling Center, 719-278-3708. Be happy to walk you through this. If you need materials, call them. They can help you with what you might need to be able to have emotional safety, especially if trust has been broken. There's been pornography addiction, there's been infidelity, there's been pain, there's been trauma. You can still have emotional safety, but it's going to take the same things we just talked about. Now, if you have not subscribed to our channel, hit that button. If you got a question, put it in the box. And until next time, do something that takes you into the next step of your life. Do something good for yourself.